So the big topic is, how is this, moving forward with these tariffs going to affect the real estate market? What's your thoughts? I have my answer, but I need your thoughts.
Positively.
How? May not be.
No, I just wanna think that way, but I don't know. But I just wanna think positively and optimistic, that's all it is.
Okay.
But if we just go in deep and find reasoning, of course, we should be, because for investors and everything, it's still the prices are just standing where they are, and then still opportunities there for investors. But I mean, I'm sure there are lots others.
Okay.
Got a hand?
Yep. Go ahead, Nate. Oh,
Your sound's off, Nancy.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I was watching CP24 yesterday, a new process that I've adopted on my iPad, so I'm actually connected with the world for a change. And they had a realtor on there that was saying that new home starts are going to be the problem with any kind of imported goods. That's just secondhand information that I heard on CP24.
Okay. Okay, good point. And I'll explain that in a minute. Any other thoughts? You guys better have the answers, because you're telling me none of your clients are reaching out.
It really depends on each person's personal situation. Some have to buy, some have to sell. I had a meeting with a buyer last night. They're buying regardless. And the day before, or when was it? Last Tuesday, I was ready to draft an offer for someone. I had it all written up, ready to explain it to them. And they said, "Oh, we're just going to cool the jets for another week. We want to see what's going on." And I'm like, yeah, they're all over the place.
So here's what's going on, and this is what I see. But you have to prep your own message for your clients, because if you're not going to be the one delivering the message, another realtor is. And so Michelle and I went to the Buzz conference a couple weeks ago. The guy sitting beside us at the table, didn't know him, chatted with him, from Sudbury. And he does a lot of YouTube, does a lot of video, has his own YouTube channel and puts that out there. Does flyers, does door knocking, and basically I am going through all my information, all my online stuff, and I come across this. Tariffs offer a silver lining to Sudbury homeowners, real estate agent says. Bank of Canada expected to reduce interest rates, which could drive up home prices. A real estate agent in Sudbury says American tariffs on Canadian goods aren't all bad if you're looking to sell your home. Tristan Ritchie, a sales representative with Lake City Realty, sat right beside us at Buzz, and we were chatting with him and going, like, how are you? Like, he's selling 40, 50 units a year by himself. And has been. And I said, what do you do? He says, I do video. I have my own YouTube station. I do flyers and I door knock. That's it. And he says, I'm always involved with all the different community things. He was out door knocking, delivering a flyer and just stating these facts. And one of the doors he left it at was the CBC representative in the Sudbury area. Contacted him and said, I'd love to do an article about this. You tell me he's not getting a ton of business from this.
My goodness.
Right?
Yeah.
But because he's involved, and I totally agree with him. Because here's what happens is, okay, so he basically goes on to say, you know, he was out, and they even said, like, delivered mailers to homeowners in the Sudbury area ahead of the US President Donald Trump's plans to impose the tariffs on Canadian imports by Tuesday. His message, tariffs could lead to an increase in home prices in the area, which would benefit homeowners looking to sell their properties. A lot of people are actually scared of the tariffs, which I understand, but I actually have a little bit of a different view on it. I don't think it's going to cause the house prices to go down, but a few of the sellers aren't in that thought process. So he goes on and he talks about, to boost spending, the Bank of Canada will likely respond to tariffs by lowering interest rates. Lower interest rates mean it costs less to borrow money for a mortgage, which leads to more potential home buyers and higher prices as a result. So he goes on to say the demand for limited stock of homes in Sudbury is already through the roof, and he doesn't expect house prices to fall unless tariffs lead to extensive job losses in the area, which their manufacturing doesn't. So here is a guy, a realtor that's involved in the community, consistently doing his tasks, that now because he's not out there going, oh, just board everything up, everybody don't do anything, saying, hey, take advantage of this, and I agree with them. Home prices are going up, they're not coming down. So,
The temporary
well,
calm right now.
no, like, real estate supply and demand.
Yeah.
You have tariffs that are gonna be on everything from appliances to wood to plumbing pipes to everything. There's not a builder in hell who's gonna go out and go, oh, I'm just gonna add 25% to the price of my home. They're just not gonna build. If you don't build, we already have a shortage. People still need to live somewhere. What are they gonna do? They're gonna buy. You got limited supply.
New homes will go more expensive, so resale will pick up because of that, because nobody will
Right.
afford the new homes.
Elroy, you were saying I know you just had a listing that lasted what, 5 days, 6 days? You're on mute.
Now, that listing lasted 36 hours.
Yeah,
It hit the market 10 a.m. Saturday morning. By 5 Sunday night, it was gone.
right. Miriam in our office here, she just listed one in Etobicoke and she's going like, oh, I gotta plan the open houses, I gotta plan the marketing, and we're helping her do that. And she called the next day and said, don't worry about it, sold last night conditionally. So there's limited supply. Buyers are definitely looking at saying, and right now, the mortgage companies are being a little more flexible on, if you have the right credit. There is definitely flexibility on the rates, because they're not getting their money out on the street as much as they would like to. So there is some competition on mortgage rates. And good buyers with good credit can take advantage of that. Right?
Tommy, did you have your hand up? Do you want to add something?
And
Oh, okay.
so all depends on what story you're telling. Okay? The story that I'm telling my folks is like, I'm now telling them, as soon as this snow goes away, you'd be ready to list your houses. Because I think we are going to see a very quick, strong spring market. It may not last more than 4 weeks. But as soon as the snow goes away, at least in the GTA, might be July before some of the areas up north, the snow goes away, but there are buyers that are in a position where they're not afraid of what their job stability is, have the down payment, and there's some of them now that, as we talked about, that gap difference, they're looking to take advantage of it. And I think, Elroy, you were saying something like that, where you've got some people now that are basically saying, or maybe it was you, Nancy, saying they've now decided this is the time to get rid of the house in the GTA and actually permanently buy something up north.
Yeah, that was me that was saying it. Yeah, I've got a couple of buyers like that right now. You know, and a
Right.
couple saying, hey, maybe we'll retire a little earlier so we don't have to worry about being laid off or any of that mess.
Okay,
It's interesting to see the shift. And I'm seeing demand in cottage rentals jumping already because people don't want to travel over the border.
right,
So the cottage market should be okay this spring.
yeah. Nancy, you got a question or a comment?
I just think, I feel like there's gonna be a sweet spot when the interest rates start coming down before the property values rise. There's gonna be a tiny little sweet spot in there, which is probably gonna only be about 3 weeks.
I agree. Because here's what happens. We see it first, then the media reports it. The media reports it, and then all of a sudden people are going, oh, yeah, I want to get in. Yeah, you should have got it a month ago. Right? So that's why the message that you're telling your sphere or what you're posting is really, really important. If you're going to be negative about it, they will find someone else to work with. Not that you're going to change their mind. Now, A seller may be a different story. A seller may be going like, I'm just gonna wait and see where it goes, depending on their situation. If they are a move-up buyer, you really gotta stress the fact that here's what you have to look at. The gap right now is here. Interest rates come down, prices start to go up. That gap, everything goes up by 5%. That one up there is gonna be this, your gap's gonna grow. So when do you wanna do it? Do I do it with a bigger gap where it's gonna cost you more, or do you wanna do it now where there's less competition, less gap? That's the story you should be telling. Okay. Elizabeth, you've been doing some sales, I noticed out in sort of the outside the GTA, just in Cambridge, Kitchener, that kind of area with buyers.
Yeah.
How have the agents and the sellers been receptive? Have you come across any multiple offers or?
Great question, actually. Yeah, one of them, it was 5 offers that we ended up winning, but it was on the market for a week, holding off offers. They got 5. Like, it's really picking up, and both of my buyers said that. One was Cambridge and one was Guelph. Both of them said that they were trying to like beat the rush that they know will be happening, and yeah, it worked out great.
Good for you. Congratulations, by the way. That's super. But that's, that's the stories that you have to start sharing and say, hey, an agent in my office on 2 offers out in Guelph and in Cambridge area, multiple offers. And that's what we were talking about last week. Multiple offers. They're here. Right? So what story are you telling? And that's where you got to get ahead of it. You've got to get on top of the buyers that you have out there and just say, like, beat the curve, because the curve's coming. We've talked about it since fall last year. Despite all the political stuff going on, real estate is simple. Cheaper money, supply and demand's low, people are still going to move. What happens is the prices. Right? Nancy, another question, comment?
Oh, sorry, that was old. I didn't lower my hand.
All right. So, like, does anybody think we're, like, I'm wrong on thinking this?
Just this, the buyers need confidence again.
So what's the easiest way to get the buyer's confidence?
Something when they see something like that instead of a media which always says negative,
Okay,
they need to see something positive to feel comfortable.
so the best
So
best
posting-
way to move somebody forward is with third-party endorsements. So if it was me doing it, I would be putting out everything to my sphere and say, hey, we just had an office meeting. There's an agent in our office that was in competition on 2 different properties with multiple offers, like up to 5 offers. This market has shifted, and by the time the public hears about it, hopefully you can take advantage of it. So again, it's not you saying it, it's here's what's going on real time, real time. I talked to my brother, he's had multiple offers on his listings. And it just shifted within the last 10 days. So that's where, those are the stories that you should be putting out. You say, hey, just want to make you aware of a situation that we're seeing. And you go on to any of the agent, groups, and you hear some of the agents go, yeah, I was on an offer, there was 10 offers, that's the story you tell. Don't say, hey, this is my opinion. Say, just want to make you aware of what's happening out there and what we're seeing. Just had an office meeting today. That's how I would do it. And I think you would find the reception would be better. And you always say, hey, if you want more information about it, I've got more research. And by all means, if you want to connect with me, reach out. And when you don't hear from them, that's when you go a couple days later, you go, hey, just wanted to reach out to you and just say, here's the information. I know you didn't call or reach out to me, but I thought you'd be interested, and find a link to a story like this. The whole idea is, if you're not communicating daily with some of these people, or at least weekly with them,
They just
then-
cool off. Yeah, they want.
well, they're not,
Or something.
they may cool off, or they're gonna find you're not the only agent contacting. right? You're not the only online stream that when they're sitting there at night going through their streams or at lunch going. All of a sudden they get this article from a realtor in Sudbury and go, well, geez, better reach out to him. Hey, what do you mean? How's that work?
He got the lead.
Right?
He got the lead.
So really, really important in this kind of marketplace. You've got to be doing that, and I keep harping on it, but I know it works. And if you're not doing it, it's not going to happen. You've got to be doing the communication way more now, because just as Elroy said, you're going to get people that are going to go, I'm going to wait and see. Which means now, if you looked at your numbers and said, okay, here's the numbers I want to do for this month. Well, you got to up them, because you're going to have people that are going to go, I'm going to wait and see. Where in a hot market, they're all going, no, I got to go now, I got to go now, I got to go now. This is a normal marketplace. You have to count on the fence sitters. Okay. And the way you do it, I always believe, and I know I get better reception from it, is third-party endorsements. Don't tell them, show them and share it. Okay. Any other comments on any other input? Anybody seen something different out there? Okay. Also something that came up through the First Canadian Title Company. First Canadian Title is the company that is the one that does most of the title insurance on properties in Ontario, okay, or across Canada. They have sent out an article saying that AI is actually driving a new wave of real estate fraud, to the point where the fraudsters can actually take a person's ID online and literally create their image to match all of the information. So even when they're doing an online lawyer to client sign off, the image and everything the lawyers are seeing looks like the real person. Okay. So it really is creating a lot more of fraudulent situations. So you really need to do your due diligence on everything that you're doing. Okay. And let make sure your clients are aware that there's a lot more fraud stuff, especially online now with so many people online. So it's really, really important that you put something out, and you may just want to go on, or maybe I can get Michelle to send this report to you, because it is, it talks about red flags for realtors, but it also talks about some of the things that that the companies are actually doing, where they're actually looking at going through and creating their own AI to recognize the AI fraud. So it's right. But you just want to make sure that when you are identifying people, okay, especially the ones you don't know, like, you get online lead, you get referral, and you're not sure, just do a little bit more due diligence. Okay. Don't forget, you can use the driver's license, where you can go on to a site and put the driver's license information in, and it'll actually tell you if it's valid or not. Right? Don't forget that step.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've talked about that a few times, but I'll send out the link again.
Yeah.
Along with this article.
Okay. So that's one of the things. What we're going to be doing as a company, and you may, if you want to get a jump on before anybody else, we are going to be implementing, we're just going through the training now, where we're going to make FinTracker a mandatory application for the company. So if you want to get a jump on it, you can certainly, a lot of the boards have already allowed you as an individual to use FinTracker, but we had a meeting with FinTracker themselves, who just got bought out by First Canadian Title. So, but we went and looked at everything and had a complete promo on it and stuff. We are going to be implementing, might take a couple months, but if you want to get a head start on it, look at downloading the FinTracker app, do some video training on it. It's available through all the different boards have it. So it doesn't matter which board you're part of, they will have the FinTracker scenario and app for you. But it does a lot of this kind of screening for us. And I do know, and I have heard that FinTrack themselves are really upping their inspections. They're really upping, like there's a new step that we're gonna have to put out to everybody as of March 3rd. There's another step of FinTrack that has to be screened. So there'll be information coming out about that. So the FinTracker app itself is a really good tool to help us as realtors do our due diligence so that in the event there is a situation, we can show that we are part of FinTracker. So it's really a more protective mechanism. And it actually speeds up the process as well. Okay, so I just wanted to let everybody know that's the route that we're going to be going because of the liabilities that FinTrack and RICO are putting on realtors now for really doing your due diligence with real estate fraud. Okay. Does anybody use it already? You've used it?
Yeah, I've used it, yeah,
Okay.
back in a year ago, I guess, when I was with Roll Page, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have it downloaded already, yeah.
Yeah, so it is, I know that Steve Brunet uses it. I was talking to him about it and he finds it very simple. But it really is a system that is really meant to protect. One, make sure we get all the proper information because we get the reports and everything and they will red flag something if it's like they do all the back end searches and things like that. So it really is an advantage for the industry. And really is an advantage for us as a corporation on individual realtors to make sure we're protecting our license as well. Okay. What else is going on besides March break coming up? Properties, anybody got a new listing they want to share? Anybody want to tell me about where your leads are coming from? What do you got?
Yesterday, I rented the listing that I have in Brampton, a basement apartment,
Okay,
so double-ended the rental. But the renter, the tenant, is planning to buy soon, like in a year
okay,
or so. So he's from Ghana, he's been here 5 years, works for CN Rail, makes good money, 3 years at that employer. So I've already connected him with a mortgage agent for future because he's trying to save up in RSP so he can remove it later. So he kind of already knows what to do and what he wants to do. And he asked me the prices. I said by the next year prices may change, maybe more than likely higher, but you need the 5% down and credit 780. So he's pretty good. So hopefully that's a future lead.
okay. Okay.
I'm seeing.
Michelle and I will have, do you have anybody for a rental for a 2-bedroom at the corner of Islington and Bloor? We have a 2-bedroom, 2-piece off the master, about 1,200 square foot rental as a condo. Yeah, 3,200 a month. That includes all of the utilities, the internet, 100 ground parking. But it's at Barclay Terrace, so it's a really nice building. No pets allowed. So that we're just going to work on listing that one. So if you've got anybody that's doing that
That's
kind
where
of rental,
Congress Ford was, right? Or something. There was a Ford dealership at one time, in the 80s. Or is that Dundas I'm thinking?
yeah,
Dundas and Islington corner. Condos there too. This is a Blur. And is it?
Mike Dundas.
Dundas, yeah.
Where's the subway station?
Just south of there, south of the.
On
building.
on Bloor?
Islington.
On Blur.
On Blur? Okay,
Yeah.
so she's at Dundas.
She's
She's at the corner of Dundas.
1 or 2 lights north, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But Barclay Terrace,
Yeah, I remember
beautiful
Barclay.
building, beautiful facilities, but
High-end.
yeah, high end.
That's a good price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last one just went for 3,200 a couple weeks ago. So.
Yeah, so you'll go, yeah.
Yeah, so just in case you have anybody, we haven't listed it yet. The other thing that you really gotta look at doing, if you're not doing Facebook ads the way Michelle has taught you to do them. And we were fortunate enough, we, have a large family, so we always bounce ideas off. And one of the trainers that actually Dan Plowman, I don't know if anybody knows or heard of Dan Plowman. He was showing Grant on how to do the Facebook, just the tweaking of it, and then Michelle and we've been testing it. That's the one we tested out a
Yep.
few times.
Yeah, that worked well. Yeah.
Yeah, he just made $40,000 from a $140 spend back in September. So, and I said to him, so how, he said, oh yeah, he said, but, and Michelle knows, so if you ever have any interest in that, reach out to Michelle. Basically, you have to be very specific in what you're advertising.
Yeah.
It's like the old, I said, it's just like the old way we used to do it.
In the paper.
Picture of the house, here's the price, here's the features. I'm not looking to, and basically why it's 40 grand is they inquired on a property, he got back to them within 5 minutes. And basically said, hey, I see you're looking at the ad and blah, 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 and chatted with them. I said, how long did it take you to get an actual appointment? 12 different communications before they got an appointment. All right, so I asked him, I said, so how are you guys doing with that? He said, we have an ad spend that we do, and it's basically like $140 for individual properties. But he said, it's follow up, and you've got to get back to them within the first 10 minutes. So if you're not going to get back to the people quickly
Then
and
don't do it.
follow up, don't do it.
Yeah.
I have a point to make on that. So the advertising that we did for the condo that I had that Michelle and I worked on resulted in multiple contacts being received, and all of them were proper phone numbers, proper emails, and proper names. Most of them didn't see the ad properly and thought it was a lease. Fair enough. I had them in my database, but a couple of those were actual buyers, which was great. And what I did was I put them immediately into Follow Up Boss and put them on a drip campaign. Well, just yesterday, I received an email from one of those leads, says, okay, you know what? Now I'm ready to start looking to buy. I fixed up my house and I'm going to be listing that as well. So I'm going to be having a conversation with him today at 2 p.m. But the point is, you got to have, automate these contacts in your Follow Up Boss or whatever CRM you're using. Automate these because it does work. Like people are looking at these emails. They may not be contacting you, but they're receiving that information.
And Elroy, you've got your, I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, your chat GPT on your leads.
Yeah, my chatbot will answer leads right away within about 2 minutes.
Right,
Speed's crucial. You got to be
Right.
after them fast.
okay. Anybody else doing either online leads that on your own or through a provider? Okay, well, I'm gonna share an idea to let you know, do it yourself, because the online provider, actually, we've done better doing it ourselves. With the way that, and what's nice about it is we can tweak it, right? And so, and I know, same thing with my brother, who runs a team. They've tried 4 or 5 different providers over the years. Dumped them all, started doing this particular program. And he said, we're getting better response. But it's as Elroy says, like, it's time, like you got to be there right away and follow up. Well, or that because you're very good at doing that.
Yeah.
So, but if you're, don't waste the money if you don't have the time to do the follow-up or the systems. Okay. Another little tidbit for you, as I was talking to a couple different teams, I talked to James Kavanaugh the other day. He said he's not getting a lot of response from his flyers, except in the last week where calls are coming in, and they're from people that he actually door knocked and chatted with in the fall. Okay, so if you're, if you haven't been doing any door knocking, and I would suggest you start getting out of there now that people can see you since the snowbanks.
Yeah.
But it's just whatever message that you're going to have, will kind of make sure you got good information on your flyer and things like that. Okay. Any other questions? Thoughts? Anybody have a situation you need information about? Nancy, got a question?
Just
Thought?
clapping.
I had a really, really interesting question from one of my sellers the other day. These are the people that he's selling his house. Hers is already listed with me. They're buying a house together. I'm showing them property on Sunday. His house is going to be a super tough sell. It's probably going to be on the market for like a long time. The question is, if they purchase a house and put him on title of the new house and he moves in there and his house doesn't sell for a year, is he going to pay capital gains on the house that he's selling?
Not if it's vacant, right?
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. First thing I would say is talk to a tax accountant.
I did that. I told her to talk to a lawyer and an accountant. I just thought I would bring it up at this meeting because it's a very interesting situation because he's got a really weird property that I think is it's gonna be a really special buyer. It's like a hunt camp on a lake and it's surrounded by crown land. It's gonna be a very special buyer that buys that one.
Okay, now, was this his principal residence?
Yes.
Okay. So the rules of principal residence being switched over to an investment property are that you only would pay capital gains on any gain made from the time that you moved out. So if he moves out and changes his and designates the new place as his principal residence, then whenever he does that, then you would need to do an evaluation at that time for the purpose of stating that, this is still a principal residence as of this date, the value is this. Then if he does sell it and it happens to be higher than that, then he would have to pay capital gains based on the increase from that valuation.
Yeah.
Not since, yeah. You stipulate a transition date.
One more thing, can you not have two principal homes if you don't rent it?
No,
No?
because
If
principal means one,
Only one,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? So, but there's nothing that says, he can certainly buy with this person and not designate as his principal residence.
Yeah, don't change his address.
That's what I was thinking, because I actually think there is something in there that you don't have to designate a second property as a principal residence.
No, you don't.
No, I didn't think so. So he could actually buy this property with Karen and go on title.
Yeah.
And that can literally be like a vacation property for him because it's not a principal residence.
Yeah,
You're wasting it.
Yeah,
that's the.
yeah,
That's what I thought.
yeah. But again,
Easiest.
always get the advice of the professional in the field, but my take would be that when and if he does decide to switch over and make that his principal residence, then you'd have to do evaluation based on that time, and anything after that would then be capital gains. But the numbers,
May
like,
not even change.
it's not gonna make a big difference because you've got a certain threshold as well. So
And
how
if-
much is the place worth?
They're looking to buy in the 900. His is worth probably about 8.
And chances are next year will still be Ames.
Yeah,
If it's so far away, like in a certain area, it won't be just like.
yeah, I would just, get some tax advice, but I would say it's not a big issue.
Okay, perfect.
Any other situations, questions?
Actually, I have a positive news story about one of the multiple offers.
Great.
I love following rules and doing things right and like making good paperwork, right? And this actually paid off because with the 5 offers, we were the second highest price. We weren't the highest. He came back and said, like there's one higher, like, is there anything that your clients can do? And I said, honestly, no, they're at the top. But we registered on time, had complete paperwork, buyers were ready to go. And apparently the one that was just, I'm assuming it wasn't much higher, but anyway, they were late to register, almost an hour past the deadline. They didn't have complete paperwork. He had to chase them. The agent didn't answer the call. And he said, I told my sellers, like, I have much more confidence in these people giving us a good time, like an easy transaction. It's worth the extra money. So proof that good paperwork sometimes comes
Yeah,
through.
well, and it's being professional, showing
Yeah.
up on time, presenting the proper documentation, right? Your dad taught you well.
Yeah, yeah. He was very happy to hear that.
Good mentor, yeah.
Good job. Thank you for sharing, because that is very, very important. Very important. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay, well, I just wanted to share those 2 things, just because, again, there's lots of negative stuff going on out there, right? Lots of negative thinking, deals are happening, property, so you've got to be being positive. But again, it gets down to simple, it's numbers, okay? If you're not communicating with enough people, you gotta up your communication. Tommy, you got your hand up? No?
Maybe it's on mute.
Yeah, hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, just have a thought about the tariff thing. Just want to get you guys' take on it. The tariffs that are happening right now, right? I mean, I was actually talking with my brother Andy as well. He lives in Calgary, so I don't know if I think the people are kind of like make the media, especially the media, right? I think they're kind of making too much out of. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure. I think the media is making too much out of it. I don't think the tariffs are going to have the effect that it will. I mean, I think that in the short term, yes, but I think that in the long term, right? If the tariffs, assuming that tariffs are going to be permanent, I think people just, there's not much they can do about it, right? They have to live with it. I mean, back in the day when people introduced, when the government introduced GST, right? They thought the GST was going to destroy the economy. Never did. Free trade. I remember this when I was younger. I was like, I was a teenager. People were just they're like against free trade. People were saying no free trade, no free trade. People were against free trade, right? When Brian Mulroney wanted to introduce free trade, they thought that was going to destroy the Canadian economy. Never did. So I think that with this tariff, right? I think that, people will just adjust. I don't think that they're going to, I don't think the tariff is going to do what people say it's going to do. I think that with the American companies like Ford Motor Company, there's a reason why they're building cars in Mexico. There's a reason why they're building cars in Canada. If they could do it cheaply in America at a cost-effective price, they would have done it a long time ago. They spent billions of dollars creating and building facilities here in Canada because we got something that the Americans don't have: power, cheap power. And of course, the labor market, and of course, the Canadian dollar, right? Mexico, I'm not too familiar. I know Mexico has lower labor. In terms of power, I'm not too sure about the infrastructure there. But I think that, the companies, they might not, it's hard to tell because you never know. Unless Donald Trump's giving super great incentives, I don't think they're going to move their operations to a place like Detroit. They spent so much money already creating and building facilities in Oshawa, in Windsor, and Oakville.
And and so I have a challenge for you. I appreciate you speaking up. How about you put together I'm gonna be like a professor now. How about you put together a paper report explaining your position with some references to third parties and references to history, like you talked about.
Okay.
And
What do you think about that?
well, the only reason I ask that is because then it's something that you could probably share on your posts and share with the, and if it has a lot of good information, then the possibility that even people here could utilize it or tweak it for their own. Would you be okay to do that?
Okay,
All right. And
I'll
then-
do it.
And when you get the rough draft, you can send it to Michelle, the scholar from Queens, because don't send it to me. Because she'll fact, what do you call that?
Fact check.
Fact check it.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, but then this is why, Tommy, Tristan, he got some coverage because he was one of the few agents saying, well, wait a minute, this is not a bad thing, right? And this is why. And you have to, anytime you're gonna take a position,
Explain.
you gotta explain, and use either history or use third party to reinforce why you're doing it, right? So that I look forward to that.
Mhm.
Then we can, and then if you run a blog, that would be a great blog as well.
One more thing, even land transfer tax, when they initiated the extra tax in Toronto,
Yeah.
they said Toronto prices will die,
Yeah.
like market.
Right.
Nothing happened, nothing.
Right, that's a good point
It
too.
hurt a little bit initially, people were saying, oh, that's by 905. So maybe more sales happen here during the initial stage. But are you telling me Toronto market didn't move?
Nope.
Yeah.
It moved after that,
Yeah,
so that
Yeah.
yes, it's,
right. And the biggest factor again is you're dealing with a consumer. The consumer is always looking for a reason not to do something.
because that's what
Right.
they hear.
Well, that's you,
Yeah.
right?
Everybody's-
You see, like, back in the day, and Scott, obviously you're gonna know about this, right? The land transfer tax, I don't remember what year was it that the change was made. The land transfer tax only applied to new builds. Then they changed it, now applies to new builds and resale. And I guess a lot of people thought, oh, this is gonna destroy the economy, real estate's gonna go down. People adjusted to it. I mean, economists has a term called elasticity, right?
Yeah.
In the short term, people, there will be, there'll definitely be a negative effect in the short term, but in the long term, people will adjust to it. I don't know if Trump wants the tariffs. I mean, he's probably doing it as a negotiation tool. I mean, obviously, I won't say this to my database, but I think Trump is actually doing it because I bet all of his friends sold stock after the stock market hit all-time high, especially after he was elected. They didn't want to buy back at a higher price. So Trump is doing that just to crash the markets. And next thing you know, I won't be too surprised if Trump says, okay, let's just get rid of the tariffs then, or just modify it so that it will be in favor of Mexico and Canada. Next thing you know, the stock market will go back up again. Who made money?
Yeah. No, good
I mean,
point, yeah.
Trump is very, very manipulative. He's a very, very manipulative person. And he always likes to twist things so that it works at his way. Now, okay, I'm not gonna tell my clients that. I mean, they don't need to hear that, right? It's too negative. I'm not gonna tell them that, right? But that's what I think is going on. I think Trump, he's a very, very smart man. He knows what he's doing. I think he's doing that because look at the effect it's having on the market right now. All the gains that the stock market has made ever since he got elected back in November, right? It's all eradicated. It's all gone, right?
Well, are you gonna reference,
He's very, very manipulative.
Tommy, you gonna reference that in the paper you're putting together for me?
Well, no, that one I can't really reference. You know why? Because
Okay.
it's my opinion, right? I won't tell anyone else that. I just keep that to myself. But what I said before, yeah, I'm gonna have to reference it for sure. I'm gonna reference that. But the second part that I said, no, like I said, I won't tell any of my database people that. I mean, it's my opinion, right? There's nothing to reference.
And I will agree with you that Trump's whole thing is nothing to do with tariffs, nothing to do with border control. It is all about, that's his whole play. So I do agree with that. I talked to some economists and they all agree with that as well, as how can you manipulate the stock market to take advantage of certain situations. But so with the real estate side, it's
Yeah.
you how can you get and engage the consumer
Mm-hmm.
positive way to move them forward, right? And the whole way is to be ahead of the curve. Talk about the
Yeah.
situations, right? Talk about situations where, you know, we're seeing things before the actual consumers are gonna hear about it through the news. Oh, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I know Nancy has her hand up. I have a feeling I know what this is about. Do we want to get into a little conversation about office and company events coming up?
Yeah, we certainly do. Well, we want to talk about the Cottage Life Show.
Yes.
So I think Elroy is the one that's spearheading this. I think there's a lot of people that want to join, and we're very grateful for that. I think I can speak for Elroy on that as well. The thing is, we want to have some sort of a schedule, because if we have like 6 people that want to help and they all show up on Saturday, that's not going to work.
I agree. Well said, Nancy. Only so much room, and we don't want to scare customers away with a group of people standing in front of our booth.
Yeah, so I would recommend that anybody who's interested in joining us at the show, pick like a time slot on one of the 4 days and communicate with Elroy, because like I said, he's the one that's spearheading it. So that we can kind of arrange it so that we're not all there at the same time.
Do you have a schedule that you've put together?
Yeah, I usually put something together about a week out before the show. Just, I usually try to see what slots they want first and work around that, and then see where our holes are.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tip from running a bunch of different trade shows. It's easier to put the schedule out and say, these are the time slots available. If you're interested, versus saying, who would be interested in showing up? Because again, I've done lots of them over the last 30 years, lots of them. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm good. And then you find it, well, I was only good for Saturday afternoon from 2 to 3 because my kids had hockey in the morning. And so I would highly recommend, if you're looking to get any participation, that you put something together and say, these are the time slots available. If you're interested, which slot would you like? And you can go from there, or if you are, for more information, reach out to you.
Okay.
But if you do just get people to say, yeah, I'm available, like, when is it? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or?
Yeah, it starts Thursday on the 20th at noon, and it runs to Sunday at night at 5 o'clock. It's a 4-day show.
So I would suggest putting I would say just putting those times, at least those days out, and say, here's the date that it's on. Time slots are like, how long are your slots? Are they a couple hours, 4 hours, 6 hours?
I would make sure that person's there for at least a couple hours. Otherwise, it's not worth driving in and out and dealing with parking and all that mess.
So I think if you could be a little bit more specific on the time shifts that you're looking for, if it's a 4-hour shift, then I would, 3-hour or 4-hour shift, then I would put that out there and say, if you're available for this day, or this day, for even a 2.5-hour shift or 3-hour, whatever you want to say. I personally, if I'm going all the way down to where it is, and I would want to do a 4-hour shift.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, I usually in the past I've done, do a morning or afternoon shift. You're opening or closing.
Yeah. Okay.
With a bit of an overlap around lunch.
And great idea. Thank you for opening it up for people to participate.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing pictures and seeing the booth set up and everything like that.
Yeah, so people that are participating, I will need names and that, because I have to get badges, and I know there's a limit on number of badges we can have for people in the booth. They only hand up so many, but I have access to some free tickets as well, so we can get you in as a general member of the public.
Yeah, we're going to be putting this out to the company as well. And I'll link Alroy's information when I put it out, so you can reach out directly to him and talk more specifically about time slots.
Perfect.
Awesome. And the last event that I want to talk about is our annual Realty Executives Awards celebration. I do believe everyone on this call right now has RSVP'd, so thank you for that. But for those watching, or maybe those that haven't RSVP, do you want to talk about kind of the twist that we're doing this year?
Just to try and make it more of a networking event as well. We invited our offices from Realty Executives Edge, which is Guelph, Cambridge, Kitchener. Our office from Vaughan. So we've got Frank Cabello and some of his folks would be coming. Office from Thornhill. So we are going to be having an Realty Executives event. So somewhere where you can actually connect, do some networking. And so they have agreed to join us. So really be important to be there, even if you're not getting an award. It's really important to be there to network. Okay.
Yeah. The food's always good, the drink's always good. It's the 12th floor of the Mississauga City Center, City Hall building. Beautiful views for those who were with us last year. And this year we get to meet some new people if you haven't met them already. And for those of you who joined us after our celebration last year, it can be your first one. And it's very fun and exciting. So
Amazing venue,
yes.
best I've seen. Actually.
Yeah, it's very surprising that it's in the city
Yeah,
center.
we've been missing.
Yeah, I know. It's right there. We can
Yeah.
see it right here.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Elizabeth, for sticking up for my location.
It's actually really nice. I love it.
It is, it's lovely.
Okay. Anything else? No, I'll just bring everybody up to date. I had a question about where is the new office at? They are right now finishing off the first coat of paint and dropping in the ceiling. And gonna finish off the ceiling HVAC. We're in the process of ordering the floor, or picking the flooring, and then so we're probably still 60 days away. But it's coming along.
Exciting.
So. Okay.
Awesome. Can't wait.
All right.
If there's nothing else, then hey, thanks again for being here, being online.
Yeah.
Very
Thank you.
appreciative.
Have a nice day.
You too. Thanks, guys.
See everybody later.
Bye.